Wood is a tax partner in the Melbourne office of Mallison Stephen Jakes. He has more than 27 years' experience in providing tax advice and conducts a varied practice which covers all aspects of revenue law. David has particular experience with advising upon financial services and financial transactions, including innovative financial products, derivatives, securitisations and infrastructure projects. David also advises on mergers and acquisitions, international taxation, tax audits, the conduct of tax litigation, stamp duty and GST. I'd ask you to welcome David Wood to the podium.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for attending in this very auspicious hall, which probably should be reserved for musicians and other performers of the highest calibre. So, unfortunately, the topics I will cover and perhaps not that erudite. The topic I want to discuss is M&A transactions, and I have set out there a number of themes I wish to cover. I want to say at the outset two things. First is, I read on the paper on the way up in the plane this morning that people were of the view that M&A may be moving into a renewed phase. Last year people were looking at transactions but no more than kicking the tyres. This year, despite some of the international events which are taking place and some of the disasters which have befallen Australia and New Zealand, the feeling is that M&A may be something which the market will reward if someone was to not only just kick the tyres but press the button going forward. There's quite a long interview with some M&A practitioners in the paper this morning. The second is what I will try, I think, to develop, and despite the fairly disparate grab bag of concepts there, I do think that there is emerging a number of themes which I do wish to develop, and that is that some of the rulings you have seen and some of the changes in law you have seen in this context are really about trying to give rise to a taxation consequence which is in line with economic reality, and that is that there is no taxation benefits to be obtained from a transaction. In other words, someone's not going to get a double benefit, and some tax office, by the same token, is not going to get a double benefit as well. So the denial of double benefits, I think, underlines some of the thoughts which I want to talk about, and it may well be that you don't agree, but we can have a chat about that at the end. Before I start, though, I thought we'd just recap a little bit on M&A transactions, and one of the biggest drivers these days behind M&A transaction is the scrip-for-scrip rollover relief, which, as you will all know, is found in Division 124M. This provision owed its introduction to the Ralph Report back in 1999, and it was designed to allow freedom of market. People shouldn't be subject to paying tax when really all they have done is to change one asset in a company for an asset being a share in another company. And the arrangements went through a number of transitions over the years, and finally we can see that they were culminated with some further amendments which were very beneficial in the end of last year. But we saw over the years changes to make the provisions actually work. We needed in 2002 to make sure that schemes of arrangement qualified. So in other words, it wasn't just a takeover, it was a scheme of arrangement as well. Then to prevent people unfairly obtaining a benefit from step-ups, we had the 2009 amendments to prevent top-hatting and stepping up a cost base in certain circumstances. But the arrangements which were the subject of the 2000 amendments last year was very transaction-specific. You'll see up there a position of a target company which is owned as to a majority by a foreign company and as to a minority by the public. They own Australian and Asian assets. The transaction I'm referring to was, of course, the takeover of AXA by, at first instance, NAB, and second instance, and more lately, by AMP. So what we wanted to get to at the end was that listed on the side, whereby the retail shareholders would now become shareholders in the purchaser Australian company, and the foreign company would then have its Asian assets all to its very own.